Thank you everyone for the kind introduction. Thank you, Vlad, for extending such a warm welcome and helping me attend such a bleeding edge event. I've seen a number of these across the world at this point, and so far this has been really impressive. The expo downstairs is amazing. I also really find it energizing to come up on the stage with such amazing professional like these gentlemen and women up here who are really pushing the edge of their professions. It's inspiring, right? I was listening to Russ speak and realizing, like, to move this mobility change, to get this urban mobility fired up, we really do need this data component, right? Because you can talk about emotions and put statistics out there, but unless you have real world data to back this up all the time, it's really hard to actually justify it, right? So let's move on. So I'm from Strava. I've been there about 6 years. We are a San Francisco-based company. We have around 140 employees at this point. We are I've been working the past 5 years while there to create pretty much big data mobility projects and products, right? The idea being that these tools are built all around data, but not just basic data like taxes and health data, but like big cloud data that lives above us that we're generating consistently every moment that every one of you uses your phone. You know, you're generating data, everyone is generating more and more data, and someone is breaking this down. So how do we break it down so it's not just in the way, but actually helping our world? Right? So really, what is Strava then? So we are the largest social network of cyclists and runners and, well, anyone who likes to move around. We are becoming the Facebook of people who like to bike ride and walk and run. Okay. Has anyone heard of Strava before today? Okay, fair number of people. The big question then is, who's on Strava today? All right, there we go. All right, well then I'm going to encourage everyone to download Strava. Okay, it's free. It's translated across 17 countries, and jump on board because it really is awesome. And all the people who are on, you're contributing, right? You're changing the world right now with your data. And you're making positive change, and all you're doing is riding a bike. And that's awesome, right? Because riding bikes is fun. All right, so let's move on here. So around 6 years ago, we decided to create a geo-focused R&D group within Strava, otherwise known as the skunk work groups in Silicon Valley. Our whole goal was to just mash data until we found something that made sense. So that's what we did. 2 years later, working with a group of really progressive cities across the world, we created what was known as Strava Metro. Right? Minute-by-minute reflection of use while 100% autonomizing the data to protect user privacy, because that's critical, right? This was obviously a direct response to this global outcry for data, because nobody really understood how people, cyclists in particular, were utilizing street networks, right? You see a couple of fatalities, you might have a bike counter here or there, but you had no idea how they got from A to B. How often they did this, the frequency, did it differ between weekend or weekday? So by using the Strava community, it allowed them to see this insight, while at the same time allowing cyclists to vote for their streets. Every time you do a ride, you're voting for cycling, right? So the general idea is take this enormous data, all right, big data, right? Every single thing here is generating all the time, all the phones, Bluetooth, pinging, everyone knows, every cell phone tower knows where exactly you are, where you came from this morning, where you had lunch, where you're going to have lunch, where you're going to have breakfast, and so on, right? So this is all big data. So we take these big data, right, and mash it. So right now we're working with about 120 regions across the globe, ranging from the really progressive Amal region here to Scotland to Los Angeles, all with the idea of let's improve mobility. We need data to do it, let's do it together, okay? So now we're pulling data from about 2 million Strava users and creating what we're calling this like Metro City, right? This collective group of individuals across the world that we're impacting with this data, and that's up to about 160 million people now that are being impacted by real-world data on a minute-to-minute basis across the globe, right? That really is bonding the world through data, which some people might be like, God, that's so boring, but it's actually pretty exciting stuff because it's helping actually people make decisions, which we'll get to a little bit later. Like everything, there's challenges, right? When we started this, we're like, oh, it's easy, everyone just throw some data around. Not so much, right? First one, government groups are not encouraged to take risks. I mean, when was the last time your boss told you, for your government individuals, you know what, fail often, but fail really fast, right? You don't hear that often, do you? Like, that's like the mantra of Silicon Valley. Take a chance, risk it, but you better fail within a week or succeed within a week or dump it, right? Cut and run. Big data is new. Not all government groups, not even all like research groups have the ability to digest this data quickly and move forward with it, okay? Then 3, there's no silver bullets with data, right? As soon as you find a piece of data, you look at it, and the first thing you need to do is expose what does it not do for me. Find the holes in this umbrella that keeps getting you wet, and go find the next data feed that's going to fill that hole. Because once you fill that next hole, you know your next weakness. Until you have the whole picture, you're only kind of halfway there. But you can't ignore the data. You have to accept it, embrace it, figure out what it's best for, figure out what it's not best for, and find the next feed until we're living in a complete harmony with data. Okay? So, and then what you oftentimes with these big data worlds is disruption inside your own industry, cycling, right? Who would have thought that cyclists are actually not really friends at times, right? The Lycra guy against the fixie, against the guy who's, if you're not on a Dutch cruiser with your 4 kids in the front, you shouldn't even be talking about biking because you don't even know what cycling's about, right? And exposing these currents and making everyone realize that we're all in the same boat through data is so critical, right? Data's not here to hurt, data's here to help and make justifications and drive forward change. All right, so let's take some of the cool stuff. Let's look at some examples. It's geo-focused data, spatial data, right? So spatial data immediately talks to every other piece of spatial data. Crash, surface type, traffic density, curbs, so on. So how can we use this for different regions? This is Brisbane. They have been investing millions of Aussie dollars into building dedicated cycling infrastructure. This cycling infrastructure, as a result, and make sure my time is good, yes. So they've been investing in cycling infrastructure. They want to know what happened. We built this new dedicated path. We spent 10 million Aussie dollars. What happened? We can show them. We can show them the impact and take their goal of move someone from here to here and show them how well they did that. Did they hit their 10% mode shift? Or did they do 30%? And it gives them this power to go back to the local governments to say, it worked. We need to do it again, but bigger. And then we can justify it again with more data. Or it failed, and why? And learn that through the data on the same side. Seattle takes a different view. Similar to this understanding where the ambulance should be beforehand, right? They actually use the data to correlate to figure out where the crash spots are. Can we actually use this data to help our models determine where these risky spots are before someone dies, right? And it turns out you can. By blending the data with counter data, you can understand what the total representation of big data sources that are a sample to the larger population, and then extrapolate this out. So this is just an example, 2 areas, huge R-squares for the statisticians out there, right? R-square of 0.91, 0.94, and this lets you come into an acceleration factor. So we can say with some pretty high statistical confidence that we are at 63 million cycling miles in Seattle DOT in 2014, right? They wouldn't even be able to throw a dart without this kind of data. The next is just understanding core cycling routes. This one, right? I like to go back to some of my ecology days. I was a forester before coming to the startup world and walked in the forest a lot and hugged trees and all that, right? But we always talk in forestry about what we call landscape fragmentation, right? Habitat fragmentation. Animal can't get from point A to point B because now you've cut down all the trees. And they can't hide themselves. It's a cat, for example. So they're stuck and they're gonna die. Same thing with cycling, right? If you build a cycling infrastructure, we can only understand how much someone can move through that through a data set like Strava Metro. So by understanding your core routes and paths, expose where your cycling network fragmentation exists. Where is that cycling habitat fragmentation exposed? So we can then isolate that spot, create new trends, and move forward. So all in all, we're working hard with data. We're trying to create some new products. We're trying to create new visualizations within these products. It's all cutting edge stuff. It's really exciting. All the students kind of ran out, but I was going to give them a prep talk, but that's okay. I have I'm going to let the guys in the tech booth quickly drop it because I have 26 seconds left. And this is an example of the product that we're built for the group. I'll be happy to share this URL. George with the Amal has it as well. This is the data visualization of the cycling routes. You can hover over it, you can pan around. It's kind of like our heat map, which is on Labs, which is kind of our free version. This one has the heat map, it's zoomed in, 2 more levels, and you can turn on unique rides, unique commute trips, unique individual cyclists. as well as toggle on and off intersections. And 10:01. Thank you all so much. Your country is amazing. I've had so much a good time here. Cheers.